Yo, 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 what is up, YouTube? Doing something a little bit different today. We got a build video for you guys, and whether or not we continue to do these build videos is basically dependent on how you guys feel about it. If you guys want it, if it, it has decent views, stuff like that. And if you guys, respond well to it, then we'll probably do a lot more of these in the future. Probably come up with some sort of system where whoever gets, comment down below a character you want me to do a video on, and whoever gets the most likes, even if it's just one like, you like the comment yourself, probably go with that one. Whatever, whoever has the most likes. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a longer video compared to future God build videos because I have to explain a couple things. So, first things first. This is just my opinions, obviously. There's no way I'm going to be able, the videos would be too long for me to put every single item you could go in every single situation. I mean, these are just the items that I build in 99% of situations for the most part, with a few exceptions, and I'll throw in some honorable mentions and stuff like that. And also, I don't know if we're going to stick to this, the way I do this video. I don't know if we're going to stick to it. I guess we'll see, afterwards. But for now, let's just jump right on into it. So this is for Duel, obviously, but in Duel, for Kuang, I would typically start Talon Trinket going into the Bancrofts, and I would get Bow, make sure to put Bow here, and 2 potions, 1 of each. You actually can go a multi-potion if you plan on fighting early game, but the thing is Kuang actually uses a ton of mana in the early game, so I don't really like that. And what I mean by, like, in future videos, we might not do it like this. I might not put the starter items here because there's not enough slots. Like, unless you scroll down, there's not too many slots here. And I don't really want to scroll down because that makes it to where, like, if you're skipping through the video, it's harder to find what you want or whatever, right? But, for this video, we'll put the starter here. Or maybe we'll just show you guys the start here and then, no, okay, we'll run with it. We'll run with it. So for core items on this dude here, we're going to put Bancrofts. You can go either one of the glyphs, honestly. Both of the glyphs are really sick on Kuang. You can't really go wrong with that. We're going to go Bancrofts into Typhons. And by the way, also, unless I put the build on there like that, these are just, your core items in general. These are not actually, you don't have to build them in this order every single time or at all even. I'm just putting core items here. Whenever I put the items in the bottom left like that, that's how you'll know what I'm talking about, the order of which, we're talking about here. So we're going to go Bancrofts, Typhons. You want these 2 items pretty much every single game, with the exception of maybe if you want to try like a book tablet build or something, you can, but I'm not going to put book and tablet on here because in my opinion, it's just an inferior build. There's no reason to do it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of wacky. You can definitely try it out if you want, but I'm just going to put the core items that I build in most situations with a couple honorable mentions. And right there, I just mentioned it to you guys. The book tablet build is pretty solid, but other core items when I think about Kuang, it's definitely going to be Divine Ruin. I mean, that's just a core item on pretty much anybody, right? If you need anti-heal. So we're going to throw that there. That's going to be a common thing for everybody. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to say, by the way. You'll notice in these videos, a lot of these gods are going to have similar builds to other characters because, well, there's not that many items in Smite, and a lot of gods have similar playstyles. So, a little bit of this is just going to be rinse and repeat, But there's definitely going to be some things different about certain characters that you don't want to miss out on. So we'll go ahead and throw them in here. So yeah, these 3 items, 100% core, no doubt about it. Rod of Tahuti is the next item I think of for core. I would build this in pretty much most games. And the next item, we're going to use this damage section as core as well, obviously. The next item I would say is, you don't have to build it in every game, especially if you're against a physical god and you end up going Breastplate of Valor, because that gives you more cooldown. You don't need this as much, but I'll show you guys in a moment why I'm going to slam this here, because, well, it's really good against magicals and stuff like that, but also because of... there is a physical option as well, which I'll show you guys in just a moment. So we're going to throw down the Chronos Pendant. A lot of people may think this is bad or whatever. I don't know what Kuang's build in Conquest these days. If you're a Conquest Andy watching this video, this may seem weird to you guys, but for the most part, Kuang just builds like a normal mage in Duel and just kind of bursts people down. You don't really even need to auto attack all the time. There's plenty of times where I kill people just by throwing the dragons at them and using my 3 and my 1 off cooldown. Like, I don't even hit them with auto attacks. Now, that being said, next core item I would say, actually I was going to throw in a Telkines here, but I don't think we're ready for that yet. Let's think of another core item. These items are the items I pretty much build every single game. So for the most part, you can just build these, but what if you don't need anti-heal? Like, what if you don't need that Divine Ruin? Then you're missing a slot. So we got to come up with something to put there. And so honorable mentions, I would probably say Doom Orb is pretty good. Magus, you can't really go too wrong with Magus, although it's definitely gotten nerfed a lot. It depends on the meta you're currently, playing in, obviously. And this meta, Magus isn't bad, but I don't find myself building it too much. So I'd say you could go a Poly or a Doom Orb last, probably, would be my 2 honorable mentions. I'll just throw a Doom Orb here. Why not? Because he is a melee character after all. He does chase his enemies a lot. He also commits to a lot of things, meaning like, you jump in, you do a lot of damage, and you might have to run away afterwards if you get caught off guard. The Doom Orb helps a lot with that, so I'll throw that there. And 2 honorable mentions for damage that I'm going to put are both going to be attack speed. Hastened. Now, here's the thing with these 2 items, is you don't need these in most games. The Typhons synergizes, like if you do a build like this, it doesn't have, you can get defense before this if you want, but the Telkine synergizes lifesteal wise with the Bancrofts and the Typhons, and he has super high attack speed. So this Telkine's proc actually procs a lot, and it'll help you a ton against objectives like Bull Demon, buffs, Titan, stuff like that. It's going to be really good. Telkine's is a very good item on Kuang, although I will say most of the time, when is Telkine's ever going to be better than like a Rod or a Chronos Pennant or something and just spamming your cooldowns? Most of the time it's not going to be, with the exception of if you're against maybe like an Osiris, like a warrior or something. But even then, why are you trying to out auto attack an auto attack warrior when you could just kite and play with your abilities? You don't really need to do that. So, Telkines is a solid item. Build it if you like it. It's really good in the early mid game, especially. Now we're going to move on to, we're going to take these off of here. Hastened. Now, why would we want hastened? Well, admittedly, there are some matchups where you can literally just run it down on people with Hasten Ring. It's not even close. Like, especially if you go something that I'm going to put in this defensive category here. Actually, you know what? Let's just slam it there right now. Magi's Revenge. So if you go Beads and Magi's Revenge, or maybe you don't go Beads and you just go the Magi's, but usually you're going to want Beads and Magi's if you're against a character that requires Magi's to go against. So what are they going to do if you're winning the fights? Like, say you're winning the fights really hard and you want to use your 2. Like, say you built the Telkines too. Screw it, whatever. You want to use your 2 on them and not just throw it. You want to actually get the dragons off. The Hastened and the Magi's is really, really good. What you do is you blink on them, or you jump on them, or you just pop around a corner, whatever. And then they CC you to try to peel for themselves, proccing the Magi's Revenge, which if you didn't know, maybe I can show it here. Magi's Revenge gives you 10% more damage against them and 20% movement speed. So 20% movement speed combined with the movement speed from Hastened Ring, here, 7%. And as you can see over to the left side, Kuang has a 375 movement speed, which is pretty high. It's third for it's tied for third. The only gods that are faster than 375 base movement speed is Chiron, because he's a horse, I guess. I don't know. And Mercury, because he's the fastest god alive, right? At 381, and Chiron's at 380. So he's a pretty fast character. The movement speed's really nice on this. And you can just gun people down. So like one matchup I can think of is just like gods that only have like 1 CC or something, like a Vulcan, for example. If you go against a Vulcan and you go Hastened and Magi's, you can just run them down. But admittedly, you don't actually have to do that a lot of the time. That's just something that you might find yourself in a really rough situation. I see people commenting on my videos and talking to me in Twitch chat all the time where they say, I tried to play, actually just recently, somebody, and if maybe you're listening to this video, just asked me how to go against Vulcan as Kuang. He just throws the meatball on the ground and kites him, and what are you going to do? Well, if you're not comfortable in landing all of your abilities or juking everything, whatever, playing perfectly, maybe Hasten Ring Magi's is the answer for you, Some other defensive options, which I'm actually going to move this Magi's over here. Okay. Also, there's like a plane in the sky right now, which is super, super, super loud. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that, but it's a plane. They fly, so hopefully it'll be gone very soon. But anyways, moving on, because I don't want this video to be too long. Like I said, the videos will be shorter in the future, for sure, if you guys want a series like this. But for this one, there's a lot of explaining I had to do. Defensive options, I would say you got Boom. Here, actually, we're going to move the Magi's back down. Defensive options, we're going to go Boom. In no particular order, by the way. It's just really, I don't think there's any particularly wrong answers here, with the exception of going Pestilence when you don't need it. That's the only thing I would say, is a lot of the times you're better off just going Divine Ruin and Genjis against certain magicals. With the only exception I would say that you go Pestilence on Kuang would be maybe, or maybe an Anubis. Anubis is the biggest one, and maybe a Freya. Those are the only gods that I would say you might need that much extra defense and that much extra anti-heal. Also, you always have the option of going double defense, although I will say I don't think Kuang is really a character that really needs double defense, you know? I don't think he relies on that very much. It really depends on the matchup though. And I'll go ahead and throw this down here as well, because this is a double defense option for sure. And we'll throw the Magi's back down here. I know we've got Magi's 3 times now. And this is the reason, by the way, that I said I might not do the starter row in future, or in the future, is because of this. In fact, you know what? Let's just go ahead and take this out and we'll just move down here. Call it a day. So basically most of the time your build is going to look, for me, something like this. I go Bancross into Typhons, and then I start thinking about my defense. Although if you're being pressured early game, you definitely can go defense second, or if you're against like a GM player and you're a little bit worried about it, I'd say for most people, defense second is your best option. If you're against the magical, you're going to go this. So since we're, you know, talking about most people here, I'm just going to go ahead and throw the defense second for you guys. And then we're going to slap on a Typhons. Pretty much always these 3 items up front, with the exception of if you just really feel like you don't need defense. If you watch my stream, I don't go defense a lot. But I'm doing this for you guys, and I understand that you guys probably like defense earlier, so we're just going to throw it on there. And if they have healing, you're probably going to go a 4th item Divine. But if not, you go the Chronos Pennant. You could go Rod, and that would be a ton of damage. Me personally, I just think the cooldown's more, how do I put this? It's more versatile. You can use it defensively, you can use it offensively, you can use it, you know, have your cooldowns back up for buffs, etc., stuff like that. So I'm gonna throw that here. And even if you do need anti-heal, sometimes you might go the Chronos Pendant first, and then the Divine, and then you slam a Rod. Now, if you don't need the anti-heal, then you probably go Rod 5th item, like it shows right there. And then, like I said, that's when you build a Doom Orb. Or that's when you could have built the Telkines earlier. If you predict that you don't need anti-heal, you can go this. You can go double defense with the Midgard and try to front door. You can go double defense with the Magi's. The Magi is really powerful. It has CDR. And we talked about the glyph being really, really strong. You can do that. The main thing is just the items I have right here. These 5 are your core items that you're going to build pretty much every single game. And by the way, when I was talking about the Chronos Pendant, if you do end up going, here, let me reset these. If you do end up going Breastplate of Valor here, that's when this becomes a little bit less valuable, because you'll be 40% cooldown. And so if you build a power potion, you know, a 500 pot here, this gives 10% cooldown. So then you're kind of overcapping a little bit, or if you have a blue buff, you're kind of overcapping a little bit, and you don't need it as much. So that's what I will say. But like I showed you guys the first time, what if you just didn't go the Valor and you went Regrowth instead? Then it matches up perfectly. Then you have 30%. You can buy the power pot or have the blue buff and be 40% for the people who have OCD. And yes, to answer anyone's question, Breastplate of Regrowth does work on Kuang. Kuang has a heal in his passive. How his passive works really quickly is basically just when you have your little sword charged up, which you'll have it most of the time. If you hit them with any ability that does damage, if you do damage to them with any ability, you proc Regrowth, because that ability will heal Kuang. So, long story short, this is the build I would go in most games, with the exception of, obviously, you're going to want a Genji's if you're against a magical, or maybe a Pestilence. And with the exception of, if you don't need anti-heal, that's when you can start thinking about double defense. You can start thinking about Magi's, which, you know, it's double defense too, but it's more utility than just double defense. That's when you can start thinking about buying the Doom Orb, buying the Telkine's Ring, the Hastened, you know, pretty simple stuff. Overall, this is pretty much what I do in most games, and I understand this is not the relic category, but I am going to make sure you're not undervaluing beads, guys. For relics, these are situational. I can't, it really just depends. It's very situational. I'm just going to put my relics here that I buy most of the time. This is not going to be every single relic you're ever going to want, but I'm just going to put down the relics that I buy most of the time. Blink. I'm putting the upgrades here for you guys as well, because I think you guys will find that to be helpful. And then we're going to put, I'd say Aegis is pretty solid on him, but I'm not going to put it in my list here. Med, and what's the fourth one I buy the most for me personally? Honestly, I guess it is probably just Aegis or Shell. There. Those are my top 4 relics for Kuang in most games. The first 2 being the ones I get the most. It's not even close. The first 2 are very, very important and very, very good. Let me know what you guys think of this type of video. Let me know if you guys think I should do more, and if you do think that I should do more, comment down below a god you want me to do, and whoever has the most likes, again, even if they're all tied for 1, then I'll just pick 1, right? So whoever gets the most likes on whichever character they comment down below is the one I'll do next. Let me know. Maybe I won't do any more of these because you guys hated it and it sucked. And this is basically just what I do at the end of my videos, but I think it's a more short version of it. Now, granted, this one's a 16-minute thing because I had to explain a lot, but in the future videos, I'm just going to, I'm going to not explain things, obviously, not as much, and I'm just going to rush and show you guys the items and stuff and make it more short, probably looking at 5 to 8 minute videos. Let me know if this is interesting to you guys. Maybe like if there's a lot to explain about a character, maybe 10 minutes at the most. That's what I would say. 10-minute videos at the longest. Let me know if this sort of a series interests you guys at all. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.